This is the best day for me of the NFL calendar. I love this day. Just because this is the day where you get the most excitement and the most like, ooh, what could change for the future of the franchise? And this is where you get the most gossip and things like that. This is just I love this day.
I do too. You get to judge yourself too if you're scouting like you guys. It's kind of like gambling. Like I'll make my underdog picks, and a 6:00 game I don't care about with the Orlando Magic. It's like, all right, was I right? I can go ahead and check in on this and look at the progress. And you guys have put in hours and hours and hours, and you can say, all right, do these teams can I work in a scouting department? Do these teams think like I do? And you can sit there and judge yourself.
Yeah, and so it's there's
to judge yourself.
You always look
3 years.
You always look for the validation of like, did I see this guy this way? Yep. And then if the teams pick, they're like, all right, good. They see it the same way, even though the rest of everybody else disagreed during the process. Like that'll be the case with like take a guy like Josh Simmons. So Vach, Lombardi, and Broadus, they love Josh Simmons, and
he is
he's an offensive tackle from Ohio State. I think he's fine.
Had the knee injury.
Yeah, he had the knee injury at Ohio State. I think he's fine. I wouldn't pick him in the top 15. They would. And so if he goes number 11 or he's in the top 15, Vach and Brian are going to feel like, yeah, we saw it the right way. If he goes like 26, I'm going to be like, I told y'all. It becomes a little bit of like...
it's like trash talk with your boys.
Yeah, we get to determine tonight who was right over the course of these 4 months.
Okay, so here's what I think the Cowboys want to do. This is the initial plan. Tet McMillan at number 12, and then they either trade down if he's not there. You're starting to hear some Tet noise at even number 5 with Jacksonville. So McMillan or either trade down, and then the other name that I got was the kid from Ole Miss, and that would be Walter Nolen, Bobby Belt.
Yeah, and Walter Nolen is a freak at the defensive tackle position. I had somebody during the draft process, somebody outside of Dallas was trying to say Nolan is like the defensive tackle version of what y'all have in Micah. Like he's a freak.
Whoa.
And so the biggest problem with Nolan, the biggest question with him is, why is it so inconsistent? Why do people from Texas A&M, where he transferred from to go to Ole Miss, why do people at Texas A&M have so many bad things to say about his work ethic? We had somebody at Draft 101 who showed up, and he had worked with Texas A&M football. Like he was one of the equipment guys or done something, and he had mentioned to us there on the mic, so this is not like I'm outing anybody, but he said on the mic that Walter Nolen, his reputation around there was kind of like, that is not a hard worker. That's not somebody who's going to come in. Now, did that change at Ole Miss? Was there something about that era at Texas A&M that he wasn't a fan of and he needed the fresh start? Possibly. But Ole Miss, he didn't necessarily rack up the biggest numbers either, like 6 sacks in his junior year. But that's somebody who, if you just look at the traits, he is incredibly talented.
Is he a little light at D tackle? I'm looking at him and he's looking a little lean.
No, so he's just a physical specimen. He's like 290, which is a 3 technique you can get away with. But he is a pass rushing monster. The traits are all there for him to be a...
When's the last time the Cowboys have had a legit scary 3 technique pass rusher?
Not like legit scary, but if you want to just talk about quality, I mean, Osa was a really good player last year at 3 technique, but the last time they had one that just wrecked shop, Hatcher 1 year, and then, I mean, really consistently, like somebody who's considered an all-pro, Leroy Glover. That was probably the last one.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's been, and that's Matt Eberflus has said that is the most important position on the field to him is the 3 technique.
If they took Nolan at 12, would you be disappointed, or would you want to see that with a trade down a few spots? Because you're hearing noise right in front of the Cowboys for Nolan as well.
Yeah, San Francisco loves Walter Nolen.
And Peter Schrager, West Coast Connects, mocked Nolan to San Francisco yesterday. Quote, I'd be shocked if he fell out of the top 15 at this point. He might be the fastest riser in the draft. He's quick. He's a people mover and has had a great pre-draft process.
Yeah, so Nolan is... I would be fine if they took him at 12. I like him a lot. I like him more than any of the other guys on the draft show do. But I understand...
The draft show overall doesn't love him?
I think everybody would be like, I would not take him at 12. I think you're fine if you take him at 12. If McMillan's not on the board. Yep. If McMillan's on the board, I would not want to take Walter Nolen. But to me, Walter Nolen that's a true first-round defensive tackle. But I understand the issues and the concerns of, like, is he going to go out there and give us everything every single play? Not that
is it
he
like
won't.
a Mozzie motor?
So Mozzie's very complicated because Mozzie, it's like a lot of people don't think he's got an issue with motor. People think he has an issue with confidence, that he gets down and then he gets taken out of the game by just getting down on himself. Nolan, I think there's more a question of, are you here? Where are you at? Are you active in here? Now, that's just the reputation. It may be completely unfounded. The Cowboys have a pretty good history. I understand Mozzie has made people now say you got to throw all that out the window. But the Cowboys have had a pretty good history of being able to find and understand and do their research on, does this guy work hard? Is he a quick learner? Cut through the noise, cut through whatever the reputation is and say, what is he actually about on the football field? They're generally pretty good at that. So if they've decided Nolan is able to do that and able to move past that, especially with Brian Schottenheimer seemingly making that like line item 1, then I'm going to feel confident that, okay, they got the answer they needed and he's going to, hit that ceiling.
I want to know everybody's 1, 2, 3 on the Franklin LaFranco injury attorney text line. I fully expect to see Ted McMillan number 1, but I want your 1, 2, and 3 preferred Cowboy options for this evening. Todd McShay, our
I was gonna say, don't say buddy necessarily.
No, our neighbor at the Combine in Indianapolis. He's been cranking out some interesting information. Used to be on ESPN next to Kuiper. In his final mock, he has the Cowboys taking McMillan, but with a caveat. Quote: "There's a lot of smoke about Jacksonville coveting Tet if they can move back from number 5 but remain ahead of the Cowboys." So McShay's saying McMillan, Dallas, but Jacksonville could screw things up.
Yeah, and that was also somebody that Jeremy Fowler was talking about yesterday as could be interested in McMillan. We've also heard a lot of chatter about McMillan or Genty in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So and luckily there's really nobody ahead of Jacksonville that people think would take Genty. So Genty might be sitting there at 5, then hopefully you just say Jacksonville grabs him, and then you're set up to where that knocks at 1. I think they're also concerned about New Orleans and New Orleans potentially going, all right, we can take that. And I was talking to some folks in New Orleans yesterday, and I was like, hey, which way do you think they're leaning right now? And a lot of the feedback was they could go anywhere of like 5 different places depending on who's sitting there.
Well, one of the places, according to McShay, that Kellen Moore is not going to go is Shedeur Sanders. He said the Shedeur plummet is probably the number 1 storyline tonight. Get Dion up there, get him whining and crying, have Shedeur with the cameras on him. That's probably the number 1 storyline. And Todd McShay says not only would Kellen Moore not take Shedeur Sanders with the first pick that they have in the round, he's not taking him with the 40th pick either. So he's making it sound like the Saints are totally out on Shedeur. Now you're starting to hear noise out of New York with the Giants that Brian Daboll does not like Shedeur Sanders, and there's some more Jackson Dart noise. Now, not necessarily for the Giants. This is the type of rumor stuff I love, the possibilities, all the tea. Not for the Giants to take Dart at 3, but to move back Bobby and still get him. And then apparently, I don't know what it is about kids and sons in New York, but Joe Shane's boy apparently went on social media with some Jackson Dart highlight package and then set his account to private quickly after that. So you got Woody Johnson's kid playing Madden. You got Joe Shane's kid apparently loving Jackson Dart, but apparently Daboll is not in the Shedeur camp. And Diana Rossini said at one point, Shedeur Sanders was the number 1 guy on New York's board, and that is no longer the case.
What was the Giants' son? It was last year. Wasn't Joe Shane's son the one who went viral for Hard Knocks, where he's draft Jaden Daniels, and he's trying to tell him to go up and get Jaden Daniels? So Joe Shane clearly talks to his kid about this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I guess it's just the New York way. It's how late does Shedeur Sanders have to go before I can just call Will Chambers and mercilessly mock him? How late would it have to be? Would he have to go in the 20s?
Yes.
That would be okay. Because I think I've got a chance. This is going to be one of my big dubs if this. And I've got Shedeur as the top quarterback. That's who I like. I've got him in the second round. If I was going to take a quarterback, I think I'd pick him because I want the upside.
Pepe.
So from the Tolos, 877-881-1053, they're 123. 817 says 1 Mimbo. 2 trade back for Booker, 3 trade back for Simmons. 903 says they want a wide receiver, then D tackle, then a running back. And then 214 says in the first round they want Golden, Ibuku, and a running back in the second. Ibuka, I think.
Ibuka. Yeah, no, that's clearly people are talking about positions there. So like one guy, so if one person's saying, give me Tet, Golden, or Ibuku, or as Peyton just said, and then somebody else is saying, all right, I want Membu, Booker, or trade back and get Simmons, which those are all offensive linemen. Armand Membu from Missouri, offensive tackle. Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama, who Schrager gave Dallas yesterday, I think, was Tyler Booker. And then Josh Simmons from Ohio State, that's an offensive lineman. So I don't know. I think that tonight, if I was to narrow this down, and I'll have my mock draft today, but if I was going to narrow this down, I would say I think Tet McMillan is the clear number one for them. I think that's who they're focused on. And then after that, I think the names that really need to be watched are probably who you mentioned, Walter Nolen, Michael Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia, and then Matthew Golden from Texas. I think those are the three that